Hello everyone, welcome to Michael's Vlog, where I talk about things that I think are interesting or important to discuss. In this particular video, we're going to be dealing with something more along the side of a combination of both of those things. And we're going to be talking about what I like to call the terrifying stare. And there's really three total types of stares that you might run into while you're in the Philippines. And you also have to keep in mind that I've been in the Philippines for quite a while, so my likelihood of running into these types of situations are probably more likely than what yours would be, okay? The first stare that you might encounter is what I like to call the natural stare of those terrifying stares. And those usually last around 5 to 10 seconds. And the reason that people are probably staring at you for 5 to 10 seconds is because you're not from this country, you stand out a bit more. And in my case, I think also part of that is because I'm a black person, so my skin tone actually in some cases is very similar to that of a local Filipino here. So for them, they might look at me and say, wow, it's pretty amazing that his skin tone looks almost identical to mine. And the reason I know this is because I have talked to a local Filipino before who has a very similar skin tone to me. And, they looked at me and they looked at me with such amazement. Like, I can't believe, if you could only see the look, you would understand what I'm trying to say to you. But to just keep it simple, they were very amazed at the fact that my skin tone looked almost identical to theirs. So that 5 to 10 second stare is likely because, they're curious about you and you're not from this country. The second type of stare that you might run into is around 2 to 5 minutes. Now that stare is very scary, it's very terrifying. Now for me, I think it really is a combination of, sometimes they're very curious, so they might stare for an unnatural amount of time. But in other cases, it could be simply that they're being rude, and so you have to really just kind of, judge the situation for yourself. But there are situations where someone will stare, for 2 to 5 minutes, and it's not about rudeness, but in some cases it may very well be that type of situation. But 99% of the time, you won't run into a 2 to 5 minute stare. Okay, so you shouldn't have to worry about that too much. The last stare that you might run into is a very rude stare, and that's usually 3 to 4 seconds. But 99% of the time, you won't run into that type of situation. Hey son, what are you doing? 99% of the time, you won't run into that type of situation. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But you can tell, within that 3 to 4 second stare that they're giving you kind of a strange or, like rude type of stare. I don't know how to explain it into words, but you'll know it when you see it. But 99% of the time, you won't run into that. So hopefully that gave you some insight into what type of, stares you might get if you come to the Philippines. Just know that most people are just curious. They're not trying to be rude. But for me, it was kind of terrifying. I never really saw people stare at me like that. It was my first time in a country outside of America, so it was a very new situation. So I hope that this video was helpful, and if it was, don't forget to embed, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos.